Welcome to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio with your host, motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Be sure to check out Greg at www.gregdwyer.com. That's www.gregdwyer.com. Now on to our show. Take it away, Greg.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited. My guest today is Kenton Knepper. Who's Kenton Knepper? Well, first of all, he doesn't really need an introduction, and I probably could go on for 10, 15 minutes, and I don't want to do that. He's a magician. He's a mentalist. He's an author. He's a musician. He's a teacher. He's a mentor. He's an influencer, and he's considered one of the top creative forces in the field of magic and mentalism, and I'm so glad that my paths and him crossed a couple years ago. Kenton, thanks for being on the broadcast.
Great to be with you.
Yes. Thank you so much. So tomorrow is a big day in our world. It is the 21st of December. It's the winter solstice. The title today is Darkness into Light. So what do you know about what's going on tomorrow, and maybe how do you prepare?
Yeah, this is a very big celebration, and it's been a very big celebration for many, many years. It's even in the Talmud, we recognize as the winter solstice. In China, I have a friend of mine two friends of mine who teach in China right now. They celebrate the winter solstice. We go back to, in Europe it was very popular, but the whole idea of this time of year is we're hitting the longest night, the longest day, the longest night of the year. When we hit the longest night of the year, that symbolizes the greatest darkness. And when we hit the greatest darkness, that is the promise of light returning. So this has traditionally been a time where people celebrate the idea of the return of light or the rebirth of the sun. In pre-Christian times in Scandinavia, for example, there was the Feast of Jul or Yule, which lasted 12 days, which was all about the rebirth of the sun. And that's where we get the idea of a Yule log from. And in ancient Rome, there was Saturnalia, which was about Saturn. And Saturnalia was, unfortunately, now we often think about it as just a crazy debauchery kind of party, but it was really about feasting and gift-giving, and Constantine, when he converted to Christianity, kind of absorbed a lot of that into Christian celebrations. So we think of Christmas where we give gifts, and have big feasts. But Saturnalia is also about limitation and having things, bountiful things happen on the earth, but also, the greatest darkness is that greatest limitation right before birth. And if we think of human bodies and how things happen in darkness until things are brought into this world, all of that is part of how everything works as far as we can tell. And so this is a time where it's important for us to remember that in the greatest dark, it is a sign, a literal principle in the world, in all the worlds that we know of, that light is coming, that light at the greatest point of darkness is that point in which light shows up and starts to return. And boy, do we need that message right now,
Yeah, I agree. And, one thing I'm thinking of is, we're so detached from the stars. We're so detached from the moon and the sun and maybe even the seasons. We're so, technically connected to the Facebook and the social media and the news and the politics, or just being inside, that I just wonder if we kind of lost our soul or we've lost our way. A lot of what you're talking about, which is connected with things that are eternal, darkness and light and the planets and everything. I wonder if we just kind of got off the path and we just kind of need to hear these things again.
Well, sure. In this time of year, usually I would be playing Tibetan bowls with a bunch of Jungians that have a Jungian celebration here. Obviously not happening this year, because a lot of people are stuck inside. We can't get out to as many places and do as many things. Certainly we have been very much in modern culture disconnected from all that is. Our idea of being more and more connected with the world is a wonderful idea, a wonderful concept, a wonderful outpicturing of inner life, and yet we take it to get distracted by outer life more and more instead of being more connected. These holidays that we still hang on to and all over the world, are a time to stop and remember, hey, wait a minute, this great birth, this great rebirth, this great coming of light has to happen not only in the outer world and in planets and in all the cosmos, but also within us. And we're too busy to stop and listen. We're too busy to tune within ourselves for just a moment to see what the rising tides and flows and things are within our own nature. We go with mass consciousness, unconsciously most of the time. And so we feel the urge to go by, and we feel the urge to go do, and we feel the urge to feel this way or feel that way or get into this fight, but we don't stop enough to listen to, what do I really feel underneath all that junk? What's really going on? And if we take just a moment to stop and think, even scientifically, I'm made up of stardust. I'm part of the cosmos. I'm part of the rise and fall of life. I am life itself. I'm just by virtue of that, I'm connected. Regardless of your lack or of spiritual beliefs or whatever your spiritual beliefs are, you're a part of life, and that means you are connected to all life. We need to remember that. We forget that. And it's very easy for us to get caught in darkness, to be confused by out pictures of the world, and forget that we have a choice to turn within ourselves, to tune into and be the light that is within us.
Now, the one thing that I know about you is you really have studied this whole concept of influence. I met you through your famous course, Wonder Words. How long has that been out?
Ooh, boy. 30 years now, I guess.
Okay, so the world in the mentalism and the magic and the performing arts knows you primarily, I would think, through that and, other things that you have done. But I think, when I think of you, I think of that immediately. How much do you think the world, the media, the culture has used maybe some of these techniques to kind of put us into a trance, or maybe the word is hypnosis, I don't know, but in a way that has dragged us down? You know what I'm getting at?
Sure. Well, look, I can tell you that, studio heads and television personalities and things have bought Wonder Words over the years, and so have therapists, and so have great important leaders and names in government, and all sorts of people over the decades have purchased Wonder Words. So yes, they understand the importance of influence, and then influence I teach now is a lot about trying to get people to snap out of these crazy, very devious kinds of influence that takes place. But yes, it happens. What's important for us is, none of that kind of stuff would really work on us if we were really attuned to the depths of ourselves. But we're not. And as long as we go through life unconsciously, the people, they see you as a marking target. And all I have to do is get you emotionally upset. And I can tell you crazy stories, things that make no logical sense at all. But you'll believe them because they moved you emotionally. And now they can manipulate you and move you all over the world any way they want. These are things that take place all the time because we are not in tune with the seasons. We don't take our holidays seriously. We take them superficially too often. And if we take these moments to stop and say, all right, look, there's a lot of messed up things going on all over the world. there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of division going on. Let's look for similarities between us. Let's look for where we have connections. Let's look for how we can love one another, even in the greatest division between us. That's when we start to connect to life itself. This is when we connect to light returning. We can stay in darkness. We can be influenced ignorantly and just be led, which most people sadly are. Even quote unquote powerful people are just walking around being manipulated by others. That's not what we want, and real influence tries to teach you how to be powerful, how to tap into the power you have, how to recognize universal principles and use them in ways that are productive for yourself and then for others, and then also to protect you from crazy things that people try to do to you.
Now, well said. Now, I know you are very much into meditation and contemplation. This, for me, it's a season of contemplation, and I've taken up meditation for the last couple of years. It's changed my life. How important do you think it is for folks to have a daily discipline to just go inside and just to calm themselves?
I will give any of our listeners a simple challenge, and it's a challenge I know each and every listener can live up to. It is simply a question of if they do it. For a long time, I taught people that you can meditate in 3 minutes or less. So if it's going to make a huge change in your life, if meditation is going to help your health, if it's going to help your mental acuity, if it's going to radically shift your world perspective, will you give yourself 3 minutes a day? Right? I mean, come on. You can avoid, 5 minutes of Facebook or whatever, skip Netflix for 3 minutes, put it on pause for 3 minutes and do this. And all you have to do is, I'll give you a simple example. Wherever somebody's sitting, as long as they're not driving, or doing something with machinery or what have you, if they're resting for just a moment, listening or watching, then they can stop and look at an object. And if they just don't think about it, but just look at it for 3 minutes, they're meditating. If you can do nothing but focus on your breathing, not change your breathing, not to do any tricky breathing, not to try to do something special. Just notice how you breathe and just do that for a minute, that will change your perspective in life. Or if you can't do any of that, I know you can do this. Count backwards from 60 to 0. Just slowly, not 60, 59, 58, 58, don't do that. But count 60, 59, 58, 57. Do that to 0, and you will feel yourself shift. You will feel a change. You give yourself a minute a day. At least do that. If you do that for a week, you will realize, I just want to do that more often. I want to take more time for myself than a minute a week. I deserve more than a minute a week. And I'm just going to be still and not move for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. If you can't do anything else, sit in a chair and just don't move. I know for some people that's an impossibility. But if you try it, even if you only get it for 5 seconds, it'll make a difference in your life. Any of these things matter. You're in the holidays, you have candles, do that. Look at a candle for 2 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about music. I was listening to some music to calm myself before the broadcast. How did you get involved in this field?
Well, music has always been a huge part of my life, and really music was around even before Magic and Mendelism, and then Magic and Mendelism took off for me. So, but music was always a vital part of my life, and really kept me alive in many times, literally, as well as spiritually. And music was something that was a way for me to communicate my soul when words weren't enough. And I could sit down at a piano and just play my emotions. And I didn't think that was weird. I just thought that was kind of what you do. And I was like that about lots of things. So I did have formal piano lessons for a few years. And then I didn't. I stopped because I just wanted to play my feelings. I didn't want to play everybody else's music. And then after some years of that, I ended up talking my parents into buying me a used Hammond organ. And so I had a Hammond organ down in my parents' basement. And yeah, I had a teacher for keyboards and classical organ playing. So I learned that. But all of that really was because I listened to a lot of music that had heavy-duty keyboard parts. Rick Wakeman, for example, of Yes was a huge inspiration. And so I wanted to play intense music that people felt. And it just became sort of natural for me. And it came back some years later. And I was just playing, and some people around me went, "Holy moly, when did you start doing that?" And I thought, well, I've always done that. But I hadn't played for a lot of people in front of me, and so they didn't know. And that led to me playing in Vegas, which led me to play at a big syndicated radio celebration of life here, which led me to getting a music rep, and now we have several shows based around just my music. So, it all comes and goes, but everything for me comes from the inside out. So my music is driven from my passion and what matters deeply on a symbolic level within me, just as performing magic is, just as teaching people influence is. It all has to come from the inside out. And again, that is, the light coming out of darkness. We have to bring our own light out into the world. We can't keep hiding it under a bushel. We have to bring our light out into the world where it's supposed to do the work it's supposed to do, whatever that is. And that's my daily overall thought is, okay, whatever you want, whatever we're supposed to be doing, that's what I'll do today. I don't know what that is, so show me. And then life shows me.
So that's the overall theme, because at the beginning of the call, I was talking about the fact that you're a world-famous magician and mentalist. You've written many books. You also do music, you teach, you mentor, you do all these classes, you have a big following. But what ties it all together, what I hear you saying, is it's about bringing the light out from within. So even when you meet people, I've heard you say this before, that you like to meet people from the inside out. Right. You use that when you do shows. Explain that. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, yeah, sure. There are deep things about that we can't get into, at this point. But it is, people often meet each other on the surface, right? We're very busy looking at the surface and looking what you're wearing. All that's fine. We all like nice things, but I like to feel how people are feeling within themselves. And then I can relate to them better. So I have to take a moment to get outside of my personality and feel what it feels like to be the person I'm meeting. And one of the quick ways I do that is I think about what it feels like to be in their body. What would it feel like? That can give you great insights, a lot of sense of what's really going on with somebody. I want to meet somebody in their heart, not in their head. And then I can get real with people, right? If we can't get there, then we're just dealing in it, some intellectual thing. And the intellect, I love the intellect. God knows how much I read. But the intellect can be easily fooled. All I have to do is give it a false premise, and it will elaborate on it. It will reasonably explain why that false premise is real. So I want to get past that stuff, and I want to get to somebody's heart so we can talk on a deep level, because that's where everything's going to change. right? If I want to help somebody, or if I want to make an impact, or if I want to influence somebody, or if I want to make their life better, I have to go past that surface and get to a deeper place where we're all really connected.
How did you learn how to do that? And are people open to that? I would think our society is so just surface level. Two questions. How did you learn to do it? And second of all, it seems very surprising because I think most people are just surface.
Well, that's why it works, right? And this is why leaders know, everybody's always on the surface. I'm going to act like I'm on the surface while I'm doing something else, because they'll never guess that. So again, this is something you need to be paying attention to. It's better if you can see past people. Here's a simple way to do it. Look into somebody's eyes and really look. You will be surprised. And I know with my working with you for days on end, you know how deep that rabbit hole can go. But if you will just look at somebody's eyes and really look into their eyes, you can quickly connect with them and you can see where they're coming from a little more than if you don't. So look deeply into somebody's eyes. Start with that.
And do you ever get any pushback like, wow, you're reading my mind? Like, you're a mentalist, and I know you're a performer, but at the same time, I believe there is such thing as connection, and I know that there are certain situations that happen. I could go on and on, but I don't. But what are we talking about here? The fact that we're all connected and that the universe is mental? Or how would you explain being able to really tap into a person's mind?
Well, yeah, it's not, I think a lot of times we think it's a party trick, right? How do you read someone's mind? How do you tap into their mind? It's not that. It is simply we all share life together, and yes, hermetically speaking, there's an idea that Jung certainly believed this too, that there was at some level of sort of universal consciousness that we all participate in. If nothing else, it's an interesting thought to hold and say, well, the person in front of me is sharing the same pool of consciousness I am. I wonder what's in their little inlet compared to my little inlet, That thought alone can sometimes help you connect to people. But it really has to do with, do I dare drop my ego for just a moment, just for a moment? I'll make it come right back. But will I drop my ego for just a moment to feel and to really look at someone in front of me? Most of us look at people, not into people. We don't really see, we just look at. And if you really see someone in front of you and go, oh my goodness, look at this person. Even people, especially people you dislike, oh, look at this person. Then for a moment you can go, you know what, there's something beautiful here. Even in the most despicable person that you think of, there's some part, if you really look, that you go, wow, you know what, isn't this fascinating about this person? Then you can pop your ego back up there and protect yourself and feel fine, but take a moment to let down your guard and feel, really see. And then you will be connected enough to be able to have a bit of that experience of shared consciousness and understand. It's there's an old saying I had that I used to teach students, which is, it's a short story. It's this: a man was walking along and smashed a bug under his foot. It's better to understand than to be understood. In other words, if you don't want to be squashed, don't insist on being understood, right? Like the bug was understood. It's better to try to understand. And if you do that, you will connect with people.
Wow. So, yeah, it doesn't sound like we're talking about tricks and manipulation. It sounds like we're talking about sincerity. And it also sounds like it would make life really fun, because think about how many people there are in the world.
Oh, it's fascinating. And that's the thing. You never get bored. When you put people in tiny little boxes and say, all these people are this way and all those people are that way, and I don't want that. I don't like those people. Then, okay, sure, your life gets stuck in a box and you never get anywhere. And you're just like, well, I'm safe. I'm in my 4 walls or 5 walls or 6 walls, and I never have to worry about anything. But you never experience and you never really connect with anything or anyone else. That's not what the world does. It's not what the universes do. Planets move, things get pulled together, life comes in and out, oceans flow in and out. We need to flow in and out, not just try to stay stuck in a box. And so this whole idea lately of dividing people really is simply an old conquering strategy. That's all it is. It's just a way to conquer people. So when you play along and go, yes, I'm in this box and I don't like that box over there, you are participating in being conquered. Congratulations. If you don't want to be participating in being conquered, then you start looking for where there is unity.
Wow. How do folks get a hold of you? I know you're doing so many things these days. What's the best way to reach out to you? Is it Facebook? Is it websites? How do they do it?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, of course, and sure, it can be complicated. So I'll give you a very simple place to go to. You can go to Kenton Music. That's Kenton Music, M-U-S, I-C, KentonMusic.com, and there you'll be able to listen to some music, chill out a little bit, get to watch a free little mini documentary they did about me. We'll tell you a little more, and then you can always find a link to a Facebook page from there too.
Wow. So tomorrow's a big day. Can you share? We just have about 2 minutes left. What exactly will you be doing tomorrow, if you have anything you can share with us as far as maybe your ritual or your practice?
Well, part of what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is not doing. I'm going to take some time to not do, to sit quietly, to feel what it feels like to be in the world the way it is now, to recognize the darkness and the dark places within myself and within life, and then to bring light to them, whether through imagination, whether through hope, whether through finding solutions. I'm going to spend a little time adding a little more light to my process, but I'm also going to acknowledge the darkness too. Both are important. Both are parts of life. And then I'm going to hopefully bring a little more light out into the rest of the world. But I have to start with me before I can take the fire out to others, right?
Yeah, I think the best way to influence people is to be able to influence yourself, or rather than just trying to manipulate, it's your presence, it's who you are. And I know when our paths crossed a few years ago, I just remember listening to you or looking at a book or reading a book and saying, there's something about you. I really need to meet you. We need to talk. And I'm sure that happens a lot with you. People are just drawn to your energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. People feel me. They get it. They read or hear or even listen to music and go, there's something about this person. And when we meet, they usually, at first either they have one or two reactions. Oh, wow, yeah, that's it. Or at first it might be, oh, wow, I'm not sure I can handle this. This is weird. And then, once they settle into it, go, oh, my God, it's a whole nother deal. It's a whole nother way of being. And then they want to know how to do it. Right? So that's what it is. Yeah. I think, and we've done this together, so it's about being what you want to really be, and then the rest of the world will find you.
I'll tell you, my friend, thank you so much for your time. You have shifted me. I'm a different person because I met you. I really appreciate your time. I wish you a blessed winter solstice, and I look forward to talking with you in the next year.
And you as well, and to everyone, happy light.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, guys. Kenton, thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Check out Greg at gregdwyer.com. Be sure to download his ebook at gregdwyerebook.com to stay focused on what matters most to you. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. We want to thank you for listening. Now go make a difference in